Hello, my name is Christina Darbinian, and my research question is, what are some of the barriers to the formation of interracial relationships? The goal of this project was to gain a better understanding as to what barriers influence interracial relationships. The desire to look at this specific topic emerged from my own experiences, being in an interracial relationship and all the barriers we had to face as a couple. It was also important because the United States has always been a country divided by race. According to Field and Straw's 2020, prejudice and discrimination amongst interracial couples getting married started in Maryland in 1661. There was laws put in place to make interracial unions amongst whites and blacks illegal. By 1920, there were 30 states that had outlawed marriages between white and African Americans. Society means that we cohabitate in a world amongst many different races, cultures, sects, and diversities. I chose a topic that many had not researched, but there was just enough evidence to inform you as my audience that there is a need for change. The benefits of having interracial relationships would, for one, increase the opportunity in having positive racial encounters. According to researchers LeMay and Tanea 2020, they have found that interracial relationships brought a reduction in prejudice and discrimination towards someone who is not the same race. I chose to use the symbolic interactionism theory by George Herbert Mead to describe my sociological imagination. This theory assumes that people respond to certain elements of their environments according to the subjective meanings they attach to them. This theory correlates a lot with my research topic because as a society, people have assigned meanings to interracial couples. Couples have only been seen under a micro level. People associate certain symbols as good or bad, and those symbols will have influence over society's decisions. Aside from other factors that inhibit interracial relationships that I will introduce later in my study, the strongest factor that leads to the increase of accepting interracial relationships has been the changing views from society. That is why it is important to consider symbolic interactionism as a sociological researcher because it represents perception. It is important to not have a preconceived perception and not hold on to any biases as we research topics such as this. Multiple researchers found that the attitudes and behaviors towards interracial couples included biasness and discrimination. This behavior did not just affect one partner, but affected them both as a unit. According to Carroll, 2007, Field and Strauss, 2013, they studied white and black partners, and there was 260 participants involved in in-depth interviews on attitudes, perceptions among society, and about interracial marriage. They found that it is not currently fully accepted by some people in the US. Although interracial relationships are much more common now, African Americans are the minority group that still has not been fully accepted to form interracial relationships with. What I found within my research is that Field, Kumana, and Strauss 2013 conducted a study amongst Black men and was asked what are some of the challenges that specifically Black men receive in their interracial relationships by society. They said derogatory comments, negative body language, categorizing them, discriminating towards them were all ways in which they face within their relationship. It does not just affect the partner who is discriminated towards, but as a unit. In another research, LeMay 2020 conducted interviews with Black men about their perceptions of interracial relationships. Findings indicated that participants assumed that their personal evaluations of their groups are shared by others. This projects a racial bias within one's own group. Although this research did not examine projection within interracial relationships, the evidence indicated a projection of attitudes included within a group setting. This suggested that people may often assume that their attitudes towards their own racial group are shared by their partners. According to Sassler and Zhang 2019, multiple researchers found rejection from family members and friends was one of the most common emotional challenges interracial couples face. Rejection or being disowned by family brings its own set of fears and anxieties and disappointment. According to the census data, interracial couples have a slightly higher divorce rate than same race couples. Some researchers think it could be because of the heightened stress and disapproval they receive from their family and friends. If they have children, they too face challenges of navigating questions about their identity. I found a trend in multiple studies that parents are a huge influence in choosing partners. In a study done by Sassler and Zhang 2019, they interviewed interracial couples and asked how much influence do parents have in choosing their partners. Most participants agreed that parental factors play a huge role in influencing emerging adults' romantic relationships. These associations can vary by race, ethnicity, and gender. In yet another study conducted by Sassler and Zhang 2019, they interviewed participants in interracial relationships and asked them about their parents and how much support they have towards their relationship. White parents tend to be the least supportive for interracial relationships, more than ethnic or minority parents. Black parents were found to be the most supportive. In the type of study that I will be conducting for my research is a qualitative study, also known as an inductive study. For my sampling, I would use Chaffey College students as my population. To find students willing to participate, I would send out an email with a preliminary questionnaire that has 25 quantitative, closed-ended questions. It would be a survey asking students' opinions on interracial dating. Their survey would include ordinal-style questions, and at the end of the survey, I will ask one final question if the participant wants to be in a focus group. I would get all the results back through email by putting a completion date deadline. Then I would use probability systemic sampling methods to make sure I am choosing only 15 of each race group for my focus groups. I would systematically go down the list of students who completed the surveys, and based on their race and demographic questions they answered, I would pick them that way. Once I have chosen the first 15 participants within the same race group, that would end my sampling selection. My methodology that I will be using. When I first started thinking about how I wanted to approach this manner, I knew I wanted to conduct interviews of some sort. Talking to my participants would generate more in-depth information than any other methods such as surveys. My research topic is a very private matter that can be considered intimate and controversial. I figured it would take too long to interview participants individually, so I chose to conduct focus groups. My plan is to have a total of 75 participants with 15 people in each group. There would be a total of 5 groups. In each group, I would break them down by race. I would have an all-white group, all Black people in another group, Asian people in another, all Latino people in another one, and the last group would consist of mixed races. This way, each group of participants does not feel obligated that they cannot be truthful. They can feel more at ease and comfortable to talk about their own experiences. I will have informed consents for all participants, along with 5 free counseling sessions for each one of the participants. I will partner up with a newly graduated marriage and family therapist to help facilitate the participants should they choose to take advantage of the services provided to them. These services would be good for 1 year after participating in the study. I would sit in the focus groups with them. As a conclusion to my research project, I have chose to reflect on the reflexive analysis. As a qualitative researcher, I am part of the research. I understand that I too am in an interracial relationship, and that was one of the reasons why I chose this topic to research. However, as a researcher, I must put those beliefs aside to hold no biases. I understand that my experiences, assumptions, and beliefs might be influential to this research process. I acknowledge that, but will do the best I can with the answers and feedback I receive in my study. My interview questions may assist in receiving certain feedback. However, I have not purposely shaped the way the outcome will be. I really do truly hope that you enjoy my presentation. Thank you.